Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Model Airplane Maker. I'm Chris, and today we're continuing with a Tomcat build with part 3. This part focuses on all the bits that need to be done before painting can begin. I'll show you a trick to painting wheels without masks, and I promise there will be no cringy beach volleyball scenes. I mean, come on! Who puts beach volleyball in a jet movie? Yet another clever feature of this kit is how Tamiya designed the wings to fit over posts that are attached to the fuselage. That way, you complete the wings and you paint them separate, and then once you're done, you just slip them over these posts and the rest is, it fits perfectly. It also allows you to replicate that very distinctive weathering or wear pattern that these Tomcats and their swing wings are known for. There are no surprises with the landing gear, but they are multi-part, and it would be very easy to add lines, wires, detail, all that stuff, because since they are prominent, they would really stand out. One tip: there is a very large and obvious chrome strut on each one of these legs. Now, there's many ways of achieving that chrome look, including paint or foil. But the one that I like is this thing called a Molotow liquid chrome pen. It's very easy to apply a uniform coat of chrome. It comes in various thicknesses. And I don't worry if I'm a little messy when I apply it, or at least try to smooth it out as much as I can with the pen, because all I'm going to do after the chrome dries is mask it off, and then I'll paint it, paint the landing gear white. Now, there are a few punch-out marks on this kit, and when I say a few, I mean very few. I found them on the gear doors, and I found them inside of the intakes, but with a little bit of Tamiya putty and some 400 grit paper, I was able to take care of those rather easily. And in fact, on the gear doors themselves, they did hide a couple of the punch outs that would go underneath another part. I typically stay away from models of this era for two reasons. One being the need to put on 37,000 stencil decals at the end of the build and have them all line up properly and not silver. And let me tell you, I'm getting mentally prepared for this stage of this build. But the other reason is this very strange requirement of having to put red trim on every single one of the landing gear doors. I mean, what kind of masochistic, strange person came up with this requirement? Anyway, it turns out, kidding aside, it was not that hard to mask these things off with a little bit of Tamiya tape. And I think I spent a couple evenings just trying to get that tape as tight to the line as possible. On the real thing, they are actually fairly thick lines, so you really have to paint the edges carefully to make sure to replicate that. And then once it's done, if you're lucky, you're going to be able to peel off the Tamiya tape and not have to do any touch-up work, because touch-up work with red on white paint is a lovely exercise of frustration. Luckily for me, on this build, I didn't have to do any touch-up work. The other thing I wanted to mention is that some of the gear doors come in this nice two-piece design. So once again, it's actually fairly easy to paint the red portion of the red line and then stick the white portion on top of it. Each piece of the landing gear was painted in gloss white in order to help the next step. and that is to apply a black wash on it. And I use my trusty MIG Ammo Panaline wash, the Black Knight color. And like I've said in previous episodes, it's the one that goes on, you wait 40 minutes, and it just wipes off very easy. It's almost idiot proof. I will say this though, this Panaline wash shines when it comes to actual panel lines, hence the name. It's not as good to bring out elevated detail, like around bolts or around other detail that's raised. In terms of landing gear, there's a lot of it. So what I found was I was wiping a lot of the wash off and not leaving any of it where it needed to go. I got around this by making a few applications and waiting a bit longer, like over an hour, for it to dry between application and wiping down. So when it comes to this type of application, there might be some better washes out there. The only one that I had that I could have used was the Tamiya black wash, but I find that to be like there is no forgiveness with that one. If it doesn't go on absolutely perfect, then you're just left with this mess that just bites through the paint. At any rate, I put it on with a thin brush, let it dry for about 45 minutes, like I said, and then I wiped it down with a Q-tip. In a couple places I needed to reapply a couple of times to make sure that I had a consistent wash. The wheels of this Tamiya Tomcat are large enough to be easily masked, but they also have a very large or very prominent rim, so they're very easy to brush paint and avoid using the mask and just get it done quickly. And to do this, you really need to get a very thin amount of color paint. And as you can see, I'm making sure to get some of that very thin liquid right at the point where the tire meets the rim. I'm almost like getting just this liquid bead between those two parts. And once you do that, you can then put more paint or more pigment in the paint and draw it out from that bead around the rim. And this way you'll get an absolutely perfect circle, and you won't have to worry about touching the rim or overpaint or touching up. I'm using a size, I think a 00 brush. It really doesn't matter. Actually, it matters a little bit later on when you're trying to paint the rest of the wheel, because this does not bring a lot of paint with it to the part. But when you're trying to get that, when you're trying to draw that bead away from the rim, this is the type of brush you're going to want. Now, the first time or the first pass of this, it's going to look pretty ugly, inconsistent. It's going to be cloudy and awful, and definitely don't stop there. What you do is then you paint another coat, and you do it pretty much the same way. You get just a dirty brush full of mostly thinner and a little bit of paint. Get that bead around the rim and draw the paint up around the rest of the tire. And I think in the case of at least the main gear, the tires of the main gear, I think it took me two or three coats to get it completely consistent, and instead of that cloudy thing that you're seeing right now. And since it is Tamiya paint with alcohol or the Tamiya thinner, this thing dries within about 15 minutes of each coat, because you're putting on mostly, well, about half and half thinner, half and half paint. Painting this way, or using that bead of liquid between the rubber and the rim, works on these tires, like I said, because the rim is quite prominent. On some models, that rim is very low and sometimes non-existent, like the rubber is protrudes out from the rim, in which case doing it this way is next to impossible. And in that case, masks or some other method of painting is probably going to be better for you. Like I said, in terms of applying this paint in coats, because to give you a percentage is very difficult. It's a lot of thinner, especially on the first pass. And so that's why I'm saying it looks extremely ugly. And if you let it dry and go back, typically maybe a little bit more paint, a little less thinner, but we're still talking very thin coats. And that can be used to your advantage when you're painting this way, because with thin coats, the thinner actually, for lack of a better term, melts the previous coat, and that way you'll get a uniform painted appearance by the second or third coat on these parts. And the last thing I'll say in finishing up this part is that it's okay to use fairly wet coats, as you can see, to blend in the previous layers. And like I said, by the time you finish up 2 or 3 coats, you're going to have a uniform appearance on your tire. At this point, we're going to have our tires done, our wheels done, our landing gear done, and our gear doors done. And those can go off to the side as we complete the rest of the build, which is really just getting all the various bits and parts on this model ahead of getting the main paint done. Here I am putting on the pallets for the Phoenix missiles, because in my mind, if you're building a Tomcat, you've got to hang a lot of Phoenix missiles off this thing. And I'm buttoning up all of the panels on the nose section. Now, these can be opened up to put in the ladders and steps to get in the cockpit, but I think it's a bit of a cleaner look. And to be honest, it avoids me having to paint more red lines on the outline of these particular gear doors. As I've been assembling and uploading this video, I've also started the painting process for the Tomcat, and the next video is going to detail that, the fuselage, the nose, the rudders, and the wings. Right now I'm just doing a final assembly of the nose gear, so that's removing the mask to reveal that that nice chrome strut, putting on the gear doors and the wheels. So as always, guys, thanks for watching and commenting on my videos. If you're looking for more content, please check out my blog at modelairplanemaker.com. And if you think others might like this video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I'm really looking forward to getting that painting video out, and hopefully it will in the next few weeks. But until then, bye for now.